Everybody, we're so glad you're here, and good evening to you. We have just a few visitors with us tonight, and we're so grateful that you're here with us. Got to say hello to Matthew and Lauren Martin, and they're visiting with us here tonight, so we're grateful for them and for all of our visitors. The heat's still there. I've heard reports of roads buckling. So that would be quite the surprise. Just make sure your knees aren't buckling as well. So take care of yourselves out there. Had a thought, have you tried baking a lasagna in a mailbox? And I guarantee someone next week will come up to me and say, I tried that. So I bet it would work. Probably $3.50 right in the mailbox. We have just a couple of folks we want to mention in our prayers for keeping our prayer list. Coy, he had a biopsy yesterday, and be getting those results next week. And spoke to him earlier today, and he is so grateful for each and every one of you, and you're reaching out and your prayers for him. So we'll keep doing that. Also. Good news, Serena Ventilla, she's doing wonderful after her heart surgery, and we have her in person with us tonight, and we've got to visit with her for a little get-together right before our devotional tonight, and her and Dragos were here to give us a little bit of a update, a little Q&A as well about the work going on in Cluj, Romania. So they're here with us, and we're grateful for them so much. And Marty was saying that a team of about 10 are getting ready to go to Romania next month. So many of that team being from here at R&C. So many prayers being lifted up for y'all. And Marty said he would keep us updated starting about July 1st on that work. Some events coming up. Our wedding shower for Shelby and Kendall will be actually this coming Sunday, June 29th. And that will be at 2 o'clock in the parlor room. And the area-wide gospel gathering will begin just a couple of weeks, on July 6th through the 9th, 7 o'clock each night. Also, our men's breakfast will be Saturday, July 12th from 8 o'clock to 9 o'clock. And there will be fellowship and a devotional going along with that. And as we know, mentioned Sunday, and they're still there, but many of our kids and some of our adult counselors are at Areopagus this week. And I know they're having a really, really good, uplifting time with that. Quentin Gayfield here, after a couple songs, is going to dismiss us in prayer, and Ben's going to lead us in some song.
Definitely don't plan on singing by myself. So. Let's sing it. Steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. Mercies never come to an end. They are new for me. Great is thy faithfulness. The Lord is my portion, says my soul. Therefore I will hope in him. Steadfast love of the Lord never ceases.
Most gracious and heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to come here today to learn more about you, learn more about the great commission you have given us. Lord, right now we're grateful for the things you've given us. Even in the warm weather that we have, we're thankful for the ability to be outside, have the freedom to practice our love for you. Lord, right now we ask that you just look over everyone here, those that had the passion to come and the desire but weren't able to. We ask that you look over our sick, shut-in, look over our teachers tonight, and may you give them the wisdom and guidance to be able to lead everyone here and teach them more of what it means to be followers of Christ. In your heavenly Son's name we pray.
Hey, I don't know if you can hear me up there. That's the wrong PowerPoint. Hey guys, did y'all hear me? That's the wrong PowerPoint. I sent them. Hey, I just sent them again. Yep. All right. Well, I'm going to get the remote in case that gets fixed. Thankfully, I have the slides on my phone. All right, if you want to be, open your Bibles to Esther chapter 2. That is where we're going to be at this morning. I do, or tonight. I do want to, though, if you get to Esther chapter 2, to mark that, because I want to go look at a few verses in Genesis, because I think that tonight as we're studying chapter 2, and we see Esther being chosen, that there is a few similarities between Esther and what takes place with her and Joseph. And one of the big differences that we see between the two is that we know for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, that God is directly involved with the progression of Joseph. With Esther, God isn't specifically mentioned, yet I think through the similarities that we're going to see, that we can really see God's handiwork in it, even though he's not mentioned by name. So I want to look at, we're going to go to first to Genesis 39. Genesis 39, verses 1 through 5. Now Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an Egyptian officer of Pharaoh, and the captain of the bodyguard bought him from the Ishmaelites who had brought him down there. And Yahweh was with Joseph, so he became a successful man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. Now his master saw that Yahweh was with him, and how Yahweh caused all that he did to succeed in his hand. So Joseph found favor, that's going to be kind of key with our lesson in Esther, in his sight, and attended on him, and he appointed him overseer over his house, and all that he owned he gave in his hand. Now it happened from the time he appointed him overseer in his house, and over all that he owned, Yahweh blessed the Egyptian's house on account of Joseph. Thus the blessing of Yahweh was upon all that he owned in the house and in the field. So here we see that God blessed Joseph, and as Joseph was in Potiphar's house, he gained favor in his sight. All right. Now jump down to verse 19. Now it happened that when his master heard the words of his wife, which he spoke to him, saying, "This is what your slave did to me," his anger burned him. So Joseph's master took him and put him into jail, the place where the king's prisoners were confined, and he was there in the jail. But Yahweh was with Joseph, and extended loving kindness to him. That's going to be another key word in our text in Esther, to him, and gave him favor in the sight of the chief jailer. So the chief jailer gave into the hand of Joseph all the prisoners who were in the jail, so that whatever was done there, he was the one who did it. The chief jailer did not supervise anything under Joseph's hand, because Yahweh was with him, and whatever he did, Yahweh made to succeed. Now let's go to chapter 41 of Genesis. Yeah.
It's not attached to the email. Can you resend it? It's not attached on this last one.
Sorry, guys. It's sending. Sent.
Thank goodness for technology.
Right. All right. And guys, I think I heard someone mention maybe turning the volume down a little bit. All right. Genesis 41, verse 37. Genesis 41, verse 37. And the proposal seemed good to Pharaoh. So this is after, the Pharaoh has a dream, and he's seeking someone to interpret it. Finally, he comes upon Joseph, and Joseph is recommended to him. And so Joseph interprets the dream. He gives Pharaoh kind of his advice. And so this is what happens in verse 37. And the proposal seemed good to Pharaoh and to his servants. Then Pharaoh said to his servants, "Can we find a man like this in whom is a divine spirit?" So Pharaoh said to Joseph, "Since God has made you know all of this, there is no one so understanding and wise as you are. You shall be over my house, and according to your command, all my people shall do homage only in the throne. I will be greater than you." And Pharaoh said to Joseph, "See, I have set you over all the land of Egypt." All right, so what I want to take away from those few verses in Genesis is that we notice that Joseph, being blessed by God, found favor in the eyes of Potiphar, then the eyes of the jailer, and then in the eyes of Pharaoh himself. And because of that, he was blessed and they were blessed. And so we're going to see, even though that God is not mentioned in Esther, we're going to see some of that same language used. Finding favor, growing in loving kindness in chapter 2 of Esther. And so as we're going through this, we can look for those similarities. So in Esther chapter 2, we're gonna break the chapter down and read it, and then we'll kind of talk about it and have a discussion, hopefully here in a few different spots. So here we go. Thank you. All right, so that's what we just looked at. So now we're in Esther chapter 2, verses 1 through 4. After these things, when the wrath of the king Ahasuerus had subsided, he remembered Vashti and what she had done and what had been decided against her. Then the young men of the king who attended to him said, "Let young virgins, beautiful in appearance, be sought for the king. And let the king appoint overseers in all the provinces of his kingdom, that they may gather every young virgin, beautiful in appearance, to the citadel of Susa, to the harem, into the hand of Haggai, the king's eunuch, who keeps charge of the women. And let their cosmetics be given to them. Then let the young lady who is good in the eyes of the king be queen, in place of Vashti." And the word was good in the eyes of the king, and he did so. So what we notice in verse 1 is that the king seemingly, he's thinking about Vashti. He remembers, maybe he's reminiscing. The text doesn't really tell us exactly, what he's thinking, why he's thinking. Is he mourning her? Is he mourning that loss? Is he possibly, wanting to bring her back but can't? And you remember in chapter 1, he wrote a decree issuing her to be taken out off the throne. And in Persia, once the decree was written, once the decree was passed, it couldn't be overturned. Or was he just simply thinking about life, thinking about Vashti and what was, and wondering what now? Either way, he then is given advice, like he was in chapter 1, and these are the suggestions that was given to him. That he was to search the region, find beautiful young virgins, and basically what's going to happen is they're going to go through a process that's going to last a year, through cosmetics and various things that's going to be kind of done to them and to prep them over this next year, and they will be presented to the king. And the suggestion is that whoever the king suggests, whoever the king likes, that individual will become queen. And we see in verse 4, at the end of verse 4, "And the word was good in the eyes of the king, and so he did." So this suggestion that they made was pleasing to the king. Now, thinking about this, and we'll talk about this a little bit more as we go on in chapter 2. But some of the suggestions are that these girls would have been forced, whether they wanted to or not. And they even take that a step further, which we will talk about here in a little bit during this process. Not only are they forced to go through this ritual, but they're forced to do other activities that they may not want to do. Others also suggest that some of will be willing to do it because it's an opportunity to live a life of luxury. It's an opportunity to become queen. It's an opportunity maybe to leave their poor lives and to be in the castle and to really kind of advance themselves. I think when we think about it, and the reality of it is that it's probably a mix of both. There was probably girls who were forced to do it, and there are probably some who welcomed it. Again, those are just reading into what most likely was taking place. Either way, when we kind of start going through this process of what this ritual would have been like, I think we can safely come to the conclusion that it would not have been acceptable in the law. It would not have been acceptable in the New Testament. It would not have been acceptable by God, this process, especially part of it as we go along. However, we are talking about Persia. So most of these girls, we know Esther being a Jew, but most of the girls probably would have been pagan of some sort and not a follower of God. So it's very possible that they would not have minded the process. Esther 2 verses 5 through 7. This is where we're going to be introduced to two of the main individuals in the book, Mordecai and Esther. Now there was at the citadel in Susa a Jew, and his name was Mordecai, the son of Jared, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite, who had been taken away into exile from Jerusalem with the exiles who had been taken away into exile with Jehoiakim, king of Judah, whom Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, had taken away into exile. And he was bringing up Hadassah, that is Esther, his uncle's daughter, for she had no father or mother. Now the young lady was beautiful in form and beautiful in appearance, and her father and her mother died. Mordecai took her as his own daughter. So a couple things. First off, Mordecai. So in the text, let's just look back in verse 5. His name was Mordecai, the son of Jared, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite, who had been taken away into exile from Jerusalem with the exiles who had been taken away into exile when Jehoiakim, king of Judah. Jehoiakim, also known as Jehoiachin, that's recorded in 2 Kings chapter 24. This would have been the captivity that took place first. If you remember, I talked about it before. There were really two times that captives from Jerusalem would have been taken into captivity. The first one was in around 597. The second one was about 10 years later. The first one would have been when Daniel was taken into captivity, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, Ezekiel, sort of the elites of the elites, or who were considered to be the elites in Jerusalem, and really all that was left was the poor people. So this would have been kind of around the time that he's referring to. There is some debate. I don't really necessarily think it's debatable, but there is some debate on who is he referring to here in verse 3, sorry, not verse 3, verse 6, as having been taken at the time of the exile. Some say it's Mordecai himself. Well, when you consider that, that would put Mordecai to be well over 100 years old. Possible? I doubt. Who it's most likely, who I believe we're talking about, if you look back at verse 6, his name was Mordecai, the son of Jared, the son of Shimei, the son of Kish, a Benjamite, who was taken away away into exile. We're talking about Kish. We're talking about his great-great-grandfather who has been taken into captivity, not Mordecai himself. Then Esther. Esther is the Persian word. Esther is her Persian name, meaning star. Her Hebrew name is Hadassah, which means myrtle. That's just an interesting note, not really important for our context. She is the first cousin, if I'm counting this right, the first cousin of Mordecai. Esther, his uncle's daughter. Maybe second cousin. Either way, cousin. And the description of her in my version says, now the young lady was beautiful in form and beautiful in appearance. ESV says, has a beautiful figure and was lovely to look at. So this is a beautiful young girl, probably, to estimate, somewhere in her teen years to early 20s. We're not really sure, but she would be a young woman who we're going to find out would also fit the description of these other girls that they're going to be looking at. Any questions about verses 1 through 7? Any comments? Okay. So here is where we start seeing the similarities between Joseph and Esther, and then I also want to look in Daniel, and we're going to see some similarities there as well. But first off, we'll read the text. Verse 8. Now it happened that when the word and law of the king were heard, and many young ladies were gathered to the citadel of Susa, into the hands of Haggai, that Esther was taken into the king's house, into the hand of Haggai, who kept charge of the women. And the young lady was good in the eyes, and she advanced in loving kindness, and that word that we saw in Genesis with Joseph, before him. So he hurried to give her cosmetics and portions of food to her, and to give to her 7 choice young women from the king's house. He transferred her and her young women to the best place in the harem. Esther did not tell anyone about her people or her kinsmen, for Mordecai had commanded her that she should not tell anyone about them. And every day Mordecai walked back and forth in front of the court of the harem to know the well-being of Esther and how she fared. So advanced in loving kindness. Mark, if you will, Esther there. And I want to go look at Daniel chapter 1. In Daniel chapter 1, Daniel, he's brought into Babylon. And him and his companions, Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego, are going to go through a process. For Daniel, it is training and teaching in the Babylonian ways, their knowledge, their customs, all the things in the area of study and intellect. So they are going to go through a process, and he's going to be put under the leadership of a Babylonian, like Esther is put into the hands of an individual as well. So in Daniel, I'm going to start in verse 8. But Daniel said in his heart that he would not defile himself with the king's choice food or with the wine which he drank. So he sought permission from the commander of the officials that he might not defile himself. Now God granted Daniel loving kindness and compassion before the commander of the officials. And the commander of the officials said to Daniel, I am afraid of my lord the king, who has appointed your food and your drink. For why should he see your faces looking more haggard than the youth who are your own age. Then you would make me forfeit my head to the king. But Daniel said to the overseer, whom the commander of the officials had appointed over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, please test your servants for 10 days. Let us be given some of the vegetables to eat and water to drink. Then let our appearance be observed before you, and the appearance of the youths who are eating the king's choice food, and deal with your servant according to what you see. So he listed them in this manner, tested them for 10 days. At the end of the 10 days, it seemed that their appearance was better than that they were fatter than all the youths who had been eating the king's choice food. So the overseer continued to withhold their choice food and the wine they were to drink, and kept giving them vegetables. So I'm going to go ahead in verse 17 as well. And for these 4 youths, God gave them knowledge and insight in every branch of literature and wisdom. Daniel even understood all kinds of visions and dreams. So, in a very similar situation, Daniel, though, in Babylon, is being put in this situation where his faith could be tested. He decides for himself that he's not going to define himself. And because of that, God grants Daniel loving kindness, compassion, and this overseer grants Daniel his wish. God blesses him. And Daniel learns all the things that he needed to learn in the role that he was being put in. So really, in both those situations, with Joseph, every kind of where he was blessed, and he grew in favor over those who were to be over him. Daniel, the same way. And now we have Esther. And in a very similar fashion, at verse 8, Esther was taken to the king's house in the hand of Haggai, who was kept charge of woman. The young lady was good in his eyes. She advanced in loving kindness before him. So here she is before Haggai, and she is advancing in loving kindness. She is advancing in what we're going to point out here, really taking priority over the other girls, seemingly. Just listed a few things. She seemingly gives priority over the others for the treatment and food, possibly giving more of the cosmetics and more of the food than the others. We have no indication that the other girls received other girls to assist them during this time. But even if they did, it says that he gave her 7 choice women from the king's house. So again, another way that she is taking preference. And not only that, but they're given the best room in the harem. So she's given the best room. She's given kind of first choice of those who are going to be assisting her, and she gets better treatment than the others because she is gaining favor. And when we compare that to Joseph, when we compare that to Daniel, even though, again, God is not mentioned, I think that we can see him in the silence, which is kind of the point of our class, is seeing God even when he's silent, even when he's not mentioned. And I think we can see that in Esther. Now, verse 10, this is also going to be, how much time are we doing? Okay. This is going to be mentioned twice in Esther chapter 2. And I right now it's a rhetorical question. I'm going to come back to it at the end of the chapter when it's mentioned again. But I just want you to kind of be thinking about this question. Why did Mordecai tell Esther to not share her heritage? I think that question is interesting. I think there's a few possibilities. But I just want you to be thinking about that as we continue. And we're going to come back to that question a little later. And then another thing to point out in this section, and it's going to come up at various times in Esther, is that Mordecai, of course, takes her in. He, loves her as his own, and he's going to continue to look after her to the best of his ability. And he seemingly has a little bit more access than maybe some others do, possibly because he could be an official, a gatekeeper. He's seen at the gate several times, watching the gate. It's possible that because of this role that he is in, he gets an opportunity to take care of Esther or to check in on Esther that perhaps he may not have been able to otherwise. All right, verses 12 through 14. You can call this, a few different things. The rules of the contest. I showed the order of operations. This is going to be kind of how this year is going to kind of turn out. What's going to happen? What's the process? And then at the end of it, what does that look like? So verses 12 through 14. But Queen Vashti refused. No, I'm in chapter 1. Verse 14. In the evening. Man, I'm just getting all kinds of mixed up here. Sorry, verse 12. Now when it reached the turn of each young lady to go into the king, Ahasuerus, after the end of her 12 months, under regulation for the women, for the days of their cosmetic treatment were fulfilled as follows: 6 months with oil of myrrh, and 6 months with spices and the cosmetics of women. When the young lady would go into the king in this way, anything that she desired was given to her to come with her from the harem to the king's house. In the evening she would go in, and in the morning she would return to the second harem, to the hand of Shahazgaz, the king's eunuch, who kept charge of the concubines. She would not again go in to the king unless the king delighted in her, and she was summoned by name. So verse 12 points out that this ritual is going to last for a year. Look at verse 16 for real quick. So Esther was taken to the king Ahasuerus to his royal house in the 10th month, which is the month of Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. So this process started really in the 7th year of his reign. And we're still sort of in the 7th year of his reign in the month of Tebeth. This is believed to be December of 479 or January of 478, just kind of based on his reign and in the years that he reigned. Would have been kind of right around when these things were taking place. But in verses 13 through 14, you get the process of how these things are taking place. So Esther and the other virgins were in the first harem under Hegai. The second harem was under Shashgaz, and this individual was over the king's concubines. So I'm going to come back to that in a second. The rules of the contest. They were allowed to take anything they desired from the harem, with them. While they were there, anything that kind of caught their eye, anything they thought would be useful, they were allowed to request it and take it with them in to see the king. And then notice when they went in to see the king and when they came out from seeing the king. They went in in the evening. Let's say the evening is day 1, and they left the king in the morning of day 2. And then when they came out in the morning, they would go to the second harem, which was where the king's concubines would be located. With the text and the information that we have, it's seemingly that these girls would go into the king virgins and they would come out in the morning not. And they would go into the second harem and then become concubines unless the king requested them or they were chosen by the king. And so then, again, they would, if the king did not choose them and they left to go into the second harem, they would only come back to the king if requested. If not chosen, that means the girls would unfortunately then live a life seemingly as a widow. They would live a life only when called upon. Now, they would be in the castle. They would have some luxuries, I'm sure, but they would not live or have the opportunity for a typical family. Any questions, comments, concerns about that? All right. So I kind of answered this before I even got to it. What was required of the women? We mentioned at the beginning that it is believed that some of the women were forced to do it. Other women might have wanted to go through the process. Either way, I don't know why I keep going back. They were asked to, in essence, go into the king and sleep with the king. And if they were chosen, then they would be chosen to be queen. If not, they would become concubines. And then what happened if they rejected? I said that too. They would become concubines, and they would live life pretty much as a widow. Verses 15 through 17. Now when it reached the turn of Esther, the daughter of Abihail, the uncle of Mordecai, who had taken her as his daughter, to go into the king, she did not seek anything except what Haggai, the king's eunuch, who kept charge of the women, said. And Esther, here's the phrase again, Esther advanced in favor in the eyes of all who saw her. So Esther was taken to the king Ahasuerus to his royal house in the 10th month, which is the month Tebeth, in the 7th year of his reign. And the king loved Esther more than all the women, and she advanced in favor and loving kindness before him more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown on her head and made her queen in place of Vashti. Verse 15. I think verse 15 is pretty telling. Note that all the girls were allowed to take anything from the harem that they wanted, if requested. So again, while doing this year of cosmetics, this year of makeup, this year of getting ready, during that time, if they saw anything that they wanted to take with them, they were allowed to take it. Esther chose nothing except what Haggai had told her. And the results of that, she gained favor. 2 different times we see that phrase. From all that looked at it. Look back there at verse 13. And Esther advanced in favor in the eyes of all who saw her. We don't know, we don't know the details about how Vashti became queen. We don't know, how has this process been gone on before. But I think it's safe to say that Haggai knew little bit about what the king preferred. I think there's a reason why it says that she took nothing other than what he suggested. I think he gave her advice, and she took it. I think that he was in her life, this is what I put up there, he was in her life to be her mentor during this time. To help her, to teach her, to give her more food than the other girls, to give her more cosmetics than the other girls, to provide her the better room, to provide her more opportunity, and then also to give her advice of what would be found pleasing in the eyes of the king, is what I believe the text suggests. Again, this is taking place at the end of 479 or at the beginning of 478. And then three different times we see in the text, not in verse 17 alone, but three different times in the text so far, we see that Esther advanced in favor and loving kindness, Esther advanced in favor and loving kindness, Esther advanced in favor and loving kindness. We also looked at, and not to say that this is comparable or that it's this way for any reason, I'm not saying that, but we looked at three different times that Joseph advanced in the favor of Potiphar, advanced in the favor of the jailer, advanced in favor of Pharaoh. So our question is, really when we're thinking about this class, we're thinking about Esther, is why was she able to advance in the favor of all these people during this time? I think it's safe to conclude that more likely than not, it was because of God. Any comments? The last few verses for tonight is 18 through 20. Then the king held a great feast, Esther's feast, for all his princes and his servants. So also held a remission of taxes for the provinces and gave gifts according to the king's hand. And when the virgins were gathered together the second time, then Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate. Esther had not yet told anyone about her kinsmen or her people, just as Mordecai had commanded her. Indeed, Esther was doing what Mordecai declared that she should do, just as she had done when she was being brought up by him. A couple things that I want to notice. This is the second chapter in a row that we've seen a feast being held. But to me, I think there's some notable differences. Besides the fact, and I'm not saying that alcohol was not being taken during this feast. We do not know. There's no mention of alcohol, though. But a couple things that I think distinguish this feast from the other. One, it is Esther's feast, right? It's not his feast. It's not about him. It is about Esther. I think that is a huge difference between the two feasts. Now, I was going to pull up, and I'm sure there's some debate about the second point, and I was going to pull up some other versions. My version says remission of taxes. Verse 18. King James says he made a release to the provinces. ESV verse 18. ESV also says remission of taxes, and ASV says he made a release to the provinces. So there's a little bit of debate of how it was translated. it was an act of service and of kindness. You know, when you think about the first feast, it was all about luxury, glamour, self-absorption. But here, seemingly, he's giving back instead of taking it all in for himself. And then we also see gifts. So again, a look of giving back and not just taking. Verse 19, and the virgins were gathered together the second time, and Mordecai was sitting at the king's gate. So again, this is possibly the girls that did not have an opportunity to appear before the king. So after Esther was chosen, all the virgin girls who were still in the first harem were gathered together for a second time. And then verse 20, as we're running out of time, once again it mentions that Esther did not tell anyone of her kinsmen or her people. Normally when something's repeated, you know, for instance in our text, we have 3 different times that Esther advanced in favor or loving kindness. Here we have 2 times that it's mentioned that Esther didn't mention her heritage to anyone. So usually when something's repeated like that, it's meant for emphasis. So why would Mordecai warn her to not tell that she was a Jew? Any idea? Okay, from there. Okay, so one suggestion is that the queen needed to be from Persian descent. Okay. Anything else? So just again, we're running out of time. About to close. A couple ideas that I had. It did mention that Mordecai's great grandfather came into captivity at the same time Daniel did. We know that Daniel and his companions, being Jews, there were those who sought to make them look bad before the king on various occasions. So is it possible that Mordecai heard these stories from his grandfather? That's maybe speculation. But I do feel like there's a sense of Mordecai afraid that if it's found out that she's a Jew, that it's going to somehow hinder her either in this process, or that it could end up harming her in some way. But then also to keep in mind, at the end of the book, when Esther goes to the king, the bad guy in the story is Haman. Haman has no idea that Esther, the queen, is a Jew. The king does not know that she is a Jew. And so, whether this was Mordecai's intention or not, because he's not going to know what's going to happen, her not telling anyone is going to pave the way for her